In this episode, I'm going to discuss with you why I've purchased this Sony A7C Mark II, and technically this has been about 3 months since I've purchased, so I would say 90 days after having some sort of a interaction with this camera paired with Sony 14mm 1.8 G Master lens. So obviously this lens is amazing. So the main reason I've purchased this lens is because it can give you a lot of wide angle, and if you need to crop in, then you can do that. Compared to my other lens that's currently recording on this camera, Sony A7C Mark I, it's a 20mm. So whenever I'm moving a lot on that camera, and then when I go through the gyroscope and analyzing the video to stabilize it, then it kind of crops in. So therefore this 14mm, it kind of removes all of that crop for me in a form factor where I would like to enjoy the video or the picture. The main reason that I've upgraded myself from that Sony A7C Mark I to this Sony A7C Mark II, that's because I'm already familiar with Sony C Mark I. I'm really happy with the output that it kind of gives me. This would be my main camera, and then the older one is going to be my B-roll camera, or from a side view if I'm doing a talking headset like this one. This camera has a lot more updates that doesn't have the older camera. One main feature that attracted me is the image stabilization. It comes with 7-stop image stabilization. It comes with 33 megapixel sensor, so that's really amazing compared to the old one, which is 24 megapixel. So there, straight away, this has a lot more brighter and sharper image. It also comes with ISO ranging from 100 to 51,200. Obviously this comes with 4K just like the older one. It has 60 frames per second, 50 frames per second in 4K, although I would like to see 120 frames per second in 4K, but that is not compatible at this stage. But you can actually get 120 frames per second if you drop your grade down to 1080p, and that's how you would able to process your image. Another thing that this camera has is AI features. These features are mwah. While it's actually recording the video, it tracks the eye. Another feature that I tend to like of this camera is that it has some extra dials here where you can switch it from your image to video, and also a S&Q mode if you do want to. Something for you to factor on is that you need to purchase a dedicated memory card, so that way you can actually record S&Q. So that's one thing that I wasn't aware of when I was recording this on S&Q. My camera wasn't able to code it correctly, so you need a V90 memory card. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to purchase one of those memory cards. Another factor you need to consider is that if you do want to record in 10 bits, which this camera is capable of, you need to have a dedicated memory card as well as your computer bin compatibility in terms of viewing the image, because when I've recorded 10 bits image on this camera, it quickly depleted the memory because of the file size, as well as when I was able to view it on the computer, I wasn't able to see everything was all black. So that's something for you to consider. For a moment I thought that I've lost all of those videos, but as soon as I've inputted it into Final Cut Pro, I was able to view the image. But that's something for you to consider. You need to have some sort of a decoder in order for you to play the 10 bits footage, or obviously you can watch it through your editing software. That's how I managed to view all of these images. When I first purchased of this camera, I was quite excited. So I've jumped on the train straight to London Eye, as well as all other parts in London. So I quickly took some couple of pictures and videos just to see how this camera would withstand against the Sony A7C, and if this camera can withstand the hype. So if you are a photographer, this camera paired with this lens for a portrait then is perfect. If you are a videographer, this camera is also perfect because it has the 7-stop image stabilization, so it's not wobbly compared to the older camera. One thing I was unsure before I purchased this Sony A7C Mark II is that I had in my mind if I should purchase the king of the cameras, which is the Sony S3. So I was actually thinking Sony Alpha S3, if that camera would be better than this, because that camera is about 3 years old. It doesn't have all of the AI features where this one has. So I was thinking, should I go for that one because it has the best image stabilization, it has the best quality of the image itself. But I said go ahead with this one, and the price range was also pretty much the same. This is currently priced at $2,200, and that's roughly translated in pound as £2,100. So if you do want to purchase this lens, it's actually, again, this lens is currently on sale at £1,399. So I'll leave a link in the description if you do want to go ahead and purchase any of these items that I've mentioned in this camera. So looking at close comparison with this Sony A7C, obviously I was unsure if I should go with the same body look, both black, and then I thought, you know what, let's go ahead with this silver, which looks a little bit more vintage. So this looks really nice compared to the black one. The reason I purchased the Sony A7C in black is because I like to be a little bit more discreet. This one is a little bit more shiny, so I thought, again, let's give it a try, something different. And am I happy with the results of this Sony A7C Mark II? Absolutely, I'm really happy. As I said earlier at the beginning of this video, this Sony A7C Mark II is my main camera when I'm doing a video shoots like this, or in fact, if I'm moving my handheld camera, then this is the one that I tend to go for. Compared to the Sony A7C, when I do a handheld video, it tends to shake a little bit, and then when I input it onto my gyroscope Sony data, it kind of crops in the image. Again, I'm trying to see which camera is actually best fit, but I'm still using my Sony A7C Mark I as a B-roll, as a second point of view, and this is my main camera. Will I recommend this Sony A7C for any content creators or somebody who's just excited in terms of producing images? This Sony A7C Mark II is quite pricey compared to the old Sony A7C. If you don't have any camera and you've been using your smartphone and you do want to upgrade, then I would suggest you to consider Sony A7C as a stepping stone. That's because you don't want to spend too much money in camera rather than spending a little bit more wisely, upgrading your audio, upgrading your lighting setup, then upgrading your camera, instead of just upgrading full on your camera and you don't have any budget for your audio, you don't have budget any of your lighting. As you can see, I've got a few lights that's currently lighting this room. I've got one which is in front of me, I've got one on my left side, and I've got one ambient light behind me, just to give a little bit more contrast. And that's how I tend to like my videos, is just to show a little bit more character in my videos. So would I recommend this camera? Yes, in total, if you do have the budget to splash it out. If you don't, then I would suggest you to go for a second-hand Sony A7C, where you can get it roughly around less than $1,000, and then paired with a nice lens, somewhere around 20mm lens, and then paired with a nice microphone and lighting setup in order to enhance your studio videography setup. If you want to see an in-depth detailed review of this Sony A7C Mark II versus the Sony A7C Mark I, leave a comment in the description. Then we'll start considering if there is enough demand, then we'll start making a video comparing both these two cameras head to head, and also versus a smartphone, because these smartphones are where to go nowadays. You've got it with you, smartphone, wherever you are, you can film yourself and you're good to go. Till next time, watch this video.